You know, I sit here before reading the Sonic fic thinking, it's funny. Places like Dorkly and such have created something called Old Man Sonic, which its main purpose is to bash, insult, make fun of, riff on the Sonic fandom for having OCs and weird fetishes. You know what's funny? They're basing Old Man Sonic off of an official book called Old Man Logan, written by one of my most hated comic book authors out there. Somebody I really don't like the writing style of. And while they're there making fun of Sonic fans for having, all these weird faces, they're highlighting a comic book that has incestuous, raping, Hulk cannibals for no other reason than that Mark has this obsession, this fetish, if you will, for cannibals and incest. So, I don't know about you guys, but I'll take these OCs that actually try to have fun with their stories over Old Man Logan, Wanted, and the original comics of Kick-Ass any day of the week. That being said, I look forward to watching She-Hulk on Disney Plus, and all the fourth wall breaking humor it entails. Also, that said, here's some good Sonic to remind you that sometimes the fanfics are better than the official comics. The day is finally here. A day that everyone had been waiting for has finally arrived. Sally looked out her window, enjoying the high spirits of her subjects. Must resist! You want to do it, don't you? Trixie, I have 2 wedding-related songs from Disney in the back of my head, ready to go. And it's taking everything I have not to sing. Enjoying the high spirits of her subjects. It's finally happening, isn't it, Bunny? She asked her best friend. You say that again, Sally girl, Bunny exclaimed. Enough of the waiting, let's get on with it. Sally smiled. You held on forever 8 years. Another hour ain't gonna kill you. Bunny grumbled something, but she had a smile on her face, too. Sally sat back in her chair, relaxing. She adjusted her bathrobe, waiting patiently for Rosie and Sandra to come back. Sally and Bunny would have preferred making this a small affair, but Rosie wouldn't consider it. You're only going to do this once, so you will do it right, her nanny said. Sally really couldn't blame her. After all, she had been more of a mother than a nanny to her. So, when are you going here? Bunny asked, getting up and pacing around the hut. They don't get here, I'll walk to the sanctuary in my bathrobe! And thus statement that Antoine is one lucky coyote. Bunny, Sally began in a sweet voice, chill out and sit down. They'll get here when they get here. Today's the one day I don't want anything getting on my nerves. Bunny looked at Sally for a moment, then sat down with a humph. Sally just shook her head. The truth was, she was beginning to get impatient herself, but she didn't let it show. There would be a party in Knothole today, bigger than when her father had returned. But even that paled against her expectations for that night. A slow smile spread across her lips. Oh my. Shout to Carrie! We're all here, Sandra exclaimed, dragging in 2 bags bigger than she was. What's all this? Bunny asked, getting up and helping Sandra. Just a couple of surprises I managed to salvage, Sandra said, Rosie adding in. Granted, I had to do a bit of restitching, but everything should fit. Oh, Honey decided to help out? Remember, folks, if you're not asleep, it isn't made for fun. I can't believe I added Honey into this fic. What's in there? Sally asked, opening a bag and catching a glimpse of white satin. Rosie slapped her hand. No, princess. First, we have other things to do. Now, I see you've both showered, so now I take over. So you sit down and try not to move too much. Finally. After 7 days in sunny June, I can enjoy naked women again. Naked, furry women, but hey, what can I say? I'm a Pegasus. I'll usually do my own makeup, Bunny grumbled, sitting in her own chair. I don't do it very well, thank you. And can we also let her be her usual hairdresser self, because so many people seem to forget that. Humor me, please. I mean, remember, she wanted to be Sally's royal hairdresser, folks. Bunny's mouth twisted to one side, but she made no further complaint. Sally sat down and smiled again. I'll be changing into my dress, Sandra said, moving to the bathroom. Be on a bit. Sally waved as Sandra stepped to the door. Sandra leaned against it for a moment and sighed. I'm happy for them, she thought, but I really wish it was me out there. Oh well, maybe another few years. She looked at all the dresses hanging in front of her, frowned. Pink? Of all the colors Sally could have chosen, she chose pink? She's never wore pink as long as I've known her. Why is she making me wear it? Well, Sandra, a lot of it has to do with her fur color that changed when she accidentally got hit with a bunch of toxic chemicals. She sadly, first she hit a pile of toxic chemicals that changed her fur color brown and blonde her hair. So she tried scrubbing that out, then she became blank with hair, and now she's back to her normal redheaded self. You realize that was probably a joke. Shut up, Trix. That's one of the more funnier gags I'm sticking to. She took the dress down and looked at it. It wasn't bad as dresses went, but Sandra did not like to. Still, I guess this is her day, so what she says go. I still don't see why I can't wear my brown one. As all this was going to Knothole, Snively and his crew were making some preparations of their own. I want to hit Knothole fast and hard, Snively said to Mel Sagadorian. 10 units to spread out over the Great Forest. Search every square inch until I find it. It would be a lot easier if Dorian had just... Melsock grumbled. I don't see what loyalty you could possibly have to them. If they let me live, Dorian said simply. Enough. Snively sighed. This conversation was an old one, and he wanted to move on. But just as he opened his mouth, alarms started blaring all over the control room. Security has been breached! Snively exclaimed as the other two ran over to computer consoles. Find out where, quickly! All sectors reporting insecure, Melsock said. I can't find any evidence of a breach. I can, Dorian said slowly, staring at the monitor. Snively and Melsock rushed to his monitor, just as he pointed. A large island, floating in midair, was positioning itself directly above Robotropolis. That's not all, Dorian said, zooming in on the island. As they watched, two figures became obvious on the island's beach. One was Knuckles. Alright, I'll read it, I'll be fire. One was a red-quilted kid that no one recognized. He was dressed in only gloves and sneakers, reminding him faintly of Sonic. The other was a rather large and portly human that Snively recognized immediately. I can't believe it, he muttered, cursing. After almost a year, my uncle is still alive! He ran to his chair. All units, open fire on that island! He ordered on his intercom. Leave nothing but rubble. On the island, Robotnik watched with Knuckles, his laser blast streaked towards the island. Neither one moved, though it seemed there were enough lasers to vaporize the island. But about 20 meters from the impact, the lasers vanished, absorbed by the island's force field. I am impressed, Robotnik muttered. As well you should be, Knuckles replied. Now, shall we get down to business? Does he... Ow! Note to future writers, please put a line break! These sea whiplashes hurt! Winged over to Knothole, humming to herself. She came in for a landing right in front of Sally and Sandra's hut, but landed in a nearby tree instead. Oh, I'll never get it right, she said, frustrated. She disentangled herself from the branches and fell to the ground. She got up, muttering to herself, and walked to the door. You guys ready yet? She called, knocking on the door. Everyone's waiting. Almost done, Delphi, Rosie said from inside. They'll be out in a few minutes. Dulcie sighed and sat herself down the way. Yeah, right, she thought. If you're not out in less than 5 minutes, I'll eat this twig. She leaned back against the wall of the hut and proceeded to fall asleep. Back at Robotropolis, Sniffly watched the lasers have absolutely no effect on the floating island as it stopped directly above the command center. Wow, Locke, your defenses actually worked for once! You actually did something right. I'm proud of you. All hovering units, report to the command center and attack the island, Sniffly commanded. Pac-Bell just sat back and shook his head, walking away, knowing how this would end. Yes, folks, I have looked back at ancient treasures of Sonic fandom, thanks to my little brother, and I was introduced to 3 new OCs I kinda liked. Pac-Bell, a assassin that reminds me strangely of Sasuke. Brookshire Draftwood, a medical raccoon that I'm pretty positive would be JD to Dr. Cox. And Nightwing, Nightwish, a assassin that makes me think of Rouge. Why, I don't think that'll be necessary, a voice said behind him. Stiffly his friends turned to look and saw Robotnik standing in the doorway with that echidna right next to him. Okay, me too, but I'm seeing the movie right now! Considering the fact that I just finished rewatching Sonic 2, it's not helping. In fact, Robotnik continued, I think the only thing that'll happen is me taking back control of my city. Not as long as I'm here, Dorian yelled, rushing at Robotnik. Knuckles opened one of his gloved hands, revealing a yellow emerald. A bolt of lightning shot out of it, striking Dorian and knocking him backward. No! Metal Sonic yelled, rushing at Knuckles. A wave of Knuckles' hand and Metal Sonic was lying beside Dorian. Are we sure we couldn't have Knuckles uppercut? Robotnik strode forward and grabbed Sniffly around the neck before Sniffly could do much more than gasp. As I said, I shall now take back control of my city, he proclaimed, eyes glowing a bright red. Sniffly grunted and squirmed, but could not break out of Robotnik's death grip. Robotnik tightened his grip further until Knuckles came up and placed his hand on Robotnik's arm. Remember the rules, Knuckles hissed. Robotnik looked at Knuckles for a moment, then hissed really stiffly. I hate playing by any rules but my own, Robotnik said darkly. Well, you'll have to make an exception this time, if you want to be victorious. Remember, as Guardian, I can call the emeralds to me at any time. I like to see you call them if you're dead, Robotnik muttered under his breath. If I die of any but natural causes, the emeralds will turn on my murderer, Knuckles cautioned. My gosh. This is probably the third coolest fanfic version of Knuckles I've ever seen. Number 1 would be God of Sonic X's Knuckles. What's I right? Robotnik sighed. He already tried to take the emeralds by force once, not about to try again. Very well. I assume you will go and inform my opponents of my return. Indeed I will, Knuckles said, after you choose your 3 emeralds. He held out his hand, displaying all 7 emeralds. As Robotnik was considering, Sniffly crawled into his chair and pressed the button. Explosions shook Robotropolis to the core. What have you done? Robotnik thundered, picking Sniffly up by the back of his jacket. Just undone everything I have done in your absence. All my work, the AI SWAT bots, the realization gun, everything gone! Robotnik glanced over at Metal Sonic, who was still in one piece. Everything? He inquired, civilly stride. Everything you could possibly use against me. Wonder if this is a good idea or a bad idea. Granted, the AI SWAT bots didn't seem to change much of the overall story, and the roboticization guns still seem to have a, minimal effect, so it probably doesn't feel like it changes much to the story at large. Robotnik walked over to Metal Sonic and dragged the robot to his feet. You have a choice, robot. Serve me or get scrapped. Metal Sonic looked at Snively for a moment. Then Snively lowered his eyes. Very well, sir. Metal Sonic said, I'll serve you. Excellent. Now, take this trayer and the other. Robotnik got cut off. Just now realizing Dorian advanced. Where did he go? No matter. Take this trayer down to a holding cell until he can be roboticized. I'll get all of his secrets then. He tossed Snively to Metal Sonic, who dragged him out of his room. Now, where were we, Knuckles? You will about to choose your 3 emeralds to defend, Knuckles said, unmoved by what he'd just seen. It followed a little white bat coming in and taking one of his emeralds. Don't rage! Robotnik walked over to him and chose the yellow, gray, and white emeralds. These 3 will do nicely. Knuckles nodded, closing his hands around the other 4. I will inform you when the others have been hidden. In the meantime, my island will move to a neutral point. Good day, Doctor. With that, he vanished. Robotnik set his emeralds aside for the moment and saw about returning control of Robotropolis to him. I wonder if that fool removed all my failsafe codes, he thought. Dulcie was sound asleep when the door opened and Rosie stepped out. Wake up, Dulcie, Rosie said, shaking her. We're ready. What? Dulcie said sleepily. 5 more minutes, Ma. Rosie grabbed one of Dulcie's ears and twisted. Oh, all right, I'm up. Coming out, Rosie called to Dot. Sandra came out first. She was dressed in a pink off-the-shoulder dress that accentuated her light blue fur very nicely. It came down to her ankles, but was hemmed in such a way it never touched the ground. She had on a slight bit of makeup, but not enough to notice unless you really looked at her. In her hands, she held a bouquet of pink and red roses. I still don't like pink, she muttered. Oh, but you look so cute, Dulcie and Rosie said together. Sandra tried to grimace, but it didn't come out right. She ended up smiling in spite of herself. And now, the bride-to-be, she said, moving out of the way. Dulcie caught her breath as Sally and Bunny walked out of the hut together. Both had on white off-the-shoulder dresses, and they made each other look somewhat older and more mature than they really were. Bunny's was rather plain, but has a dark blue and purple designs attached to the train. Sally's was a bit fancier, with the symbol of the House of Acorn displayed prominently on the front of the dress. Both had on gauzy veils which somewhat hid their faces, but everyone there knew they were smiling and even crying. Wow, Dulcie said in awe. You look gorgeous. Thanks, Dulcie, Bunny said. Or anything you are. Hold on a sec, Sally said. I meant to ask you, how did you get these dresses together in such a short time, Rosie? I sewed them a long time ago, Princess, Rosie said. The dresses each of you are wearing are the same ones that your mothers wore when they got married. Sally grew very quiet. I no idea, said Bunny softly. Hey, shouldn't Bunny's uncle be the one bringing that dress over? Ow! I mean, I'm just saying, Bunny's uncle should be the one bringing this over because, considering her Ow! Look, Bunny's life has been pain so far. I want her to have something happy happen to her. You feel it out just as they did. Oh, well, maybe except Bunny's. He is a little bit thicker over there. They'd be so glad to see you like this. We better get going, Sally said, choking back more tears. Think you could get it right? Rosie asked as the bride-to-be climbed up on Dulcie's back. Piece of cake, Rosie, Dulcie said and took off. Grab on, Rosie, Sandra said, revving up her legs as best she could. I'm not going to let them get there before us. Be careful, you don't rip that dress, Rosie said, hanging on to Sandra's waist. It took me a long time to finish it. I'll be careful, Sandra promised, running off. Just in front of Sanctuary, Sonic was pacing the ground nervously. What is keeping them? Sonic asked, checking his watch. I hope they didn't change their minds. Do that to be a through, Sonic, Antoine said calmly, sitting down on the steps. They would never change their minds after everything that's happened. Yes, Sonic, Tails said. Why else would you be in a tuxedo again and not complaining? Sonic smiled at that. Very true, little bro. I guess I'm just getting cold feet. Everything will be fine, Sonic, Antoine said. He cocked his head to one side. In fact, I believe I hear them now. Sonic listened. He too heard an approaching sonic boom. But then saw it was only Sandra and Rosie aside. Oh, it's only you two, he said. Don't look so happy to see us, Sandra said sarcastically as Rosie let go. Since when did you wear? Tails began. Don't say it, Sandra yelled, marching over to Tails. Tails opened his mouth again, but decided to grab Sandra and kiss her instead of saying anything. I hate when you do that, Sandra muttered when he let her go. You look beautiful, Tails said, smiling. So, picking up a few hits for Tails? For Sonic, are we, Tails? Here they come, Rotor said, pointing up to the sky. Everyone went to saw Dulcie buried down on him. They all ran for the safety of the building. I'll slow down, Dulcie muttered. Take it easy, Dulcie, Sally yelled, holding on to Dulcie's back as he went for a dive. Don't worry, Sally. Everything's under control. A few feet before she hit the ground, Dulcie spread her wings, using them as a brake. She turned right side up and touched the ground lightly. Like I said, under control. She carefully placed Sally and Bunny down on the ground. Thanks a lot, Dulcie, Sally said. No problem, Sal, Dulcie said, giving a thumbs up. I'll just lay out here. I don't like you close pieces too much. Where won't go? Bunny asked, looking around. We're all waiting inside, Sandra called from the doorway. Hurry up! Waiting's over, Sally murmured as she walked up the stairs with Bunny. Not as he entered Sanctuary. Every citizen in Knothole, with the exception of the guards, had jammed into the benches. King Acorn, Maurice, and Patricia, the only living relatives of any members of the wedding party, were seated on the front benches themselves. Ari and Lupe had come in with what was left of their groups. Uncle Tuck had left his post in Robotropolis for the occasion. Even August was in attendance. The only one not in attendance, it seemed, was Donovan. Bunny felt a little disappointed at that, looking briefly at her left arm. I'll bet he won't even show up at the party afterwards, she thought. Taz took it by the altar as Sonic and Antoine walked in just in front of him. Antoine stood just to the right, and Sonic stood to the left. Bunny thought she had never seen Antoine look more handsome, and Sally felt the same about Sonic. Everything's finally coming together, Sally whispered. The beautiful organ filled the building. Rosie was sitting at a large organ, playing a traditional wedding theme. That's our cue, Sandra whispered in front of them. She started walking down the aisle to the beat of the music. Tails joined her after a couple of steps and escorted her up to the altar. Sandra moved to the right, while Tails moved to the left. Music swelled, signifying the entrance of the brides. Bunny and Sally moved down the aisle slowly, one step at a time. Everyone's eyes turned to follow as they passed, making each a little nervous. In a few moments, they reached their prospective husbands and stopped. Sonic lifted Sally's veil away from her face, and Antoine did the same for Bunny's. Thank you all for coming today to celebrate this double union, Taz said, his voice resonating throughout the building. Even in this time of war, these two couples have managed to grow, to learn and love each other, until the day they come to this junction in their lives. I know this is a formality, but I must ask, if any creature here today has a reason why these two couples should not wed, let them speak now or forever hold their peace. I have just cause, a strong voice called behind them. Everyone turned to look at the red-quilted Kinda who had suddenly appeared in the doorway of Sanctuary. A low murmur of anger had spread through all present. All this, except Tannis, who became quite sad. The time is at hand, he whispered softly. Oh, that I pray this would not happen in my lifetime. So does it all to people who see such things. But that is not for them to decide. We all have to decide what to do with the time that is given us. Really? Lord of the Rings? What can I say? It's my favorite fantasy book. I'm gonna have to reduce, or I had to mention it at one point. The echidna advanced down the aisle, ignoring the glances hurled down by the crowd. Well met, Sirat, he said authoritatively. Well met, Guardian. Tannis returned with a sigh. Guardian? Sonic asked. Do you know this Joker? I don't care if he knows him or not, Sally said angrily. He better have a good excuse for interrupting our wedding. Is the flight of Mobius in calls a nymph? The echidna asked, turning a cool gaze on the princess. The murmuring changed in an instant from one of anger to one of shock. You better explain yourself, and quickly, Sally said, her voice low and dark. And if you can't back up your words, I will... Princess, Tannis said sharply, remember where you are. Sally flushed for a moment, but retained her composure. I'm waiting, echidna, she said, crossing her arms and tapping her foot. I don't think you've been hanging around Sonic too long, Sally girl, Bunny whispered. Now you're starting to act like him. I'm surprised, Bunny, knowing her character and that she's kind of southern, I'm surprised she's not ready to strangle Knuckles. If you wish to address me, my name is Knuckles. And unlike Sonic, I don't chuckle. Woo! Okay, one more Knuckles meme, and I'm here to show you the way. I hate myself, the echidna said. And I cannot say anything until all interested parties are present. Everyone's here, Sally snapped. Not quite everyone. He's right, my princess, Antoine said. I do not see Donovan here. Sally looked around and nodded hesitantly. Okay, she said. Sandra, have Nadia contact Donovan and tell him to get here. I will, Sally, Sandra said, reaching under her dress and taking Nadia from her boot. Donovan stood in the middle of what's been a village. Everything had been destroyed or burned by the Cavenoff. Unfortunately, Donovan had been able to warn everyone of his approach, and he reached his safety at the underground tunnels. But everything above ground has still been destroyed. He sighed. How I wish the time would come when we could destroy Cavenoff, he thought. But that won't be for a long while yet. Until then, I just have to keep the damage he causes to a minimum. Hey, Squirrel Boy! Nadia's voice came over his computer. You there? Yeah, I'm here, Donovan said, taking his communicator out of his pocket. Good. Sally wants you here in Sanctuary 5 minutes ago. I have more important things to do than attend her wedding, he said. Nadia made some reply, but Donovan didn't hear it. For a moment, a black furred hand grabbed around his throat. There was a party going on, and you didn't tell me? A pained voice, accompanied by a slight chuckle. Well, what's a party without a class? Fortunately for you, your attendance is no longer possible. For your participation in my game ends now. Oh, great, Nadia yelled, hearing Alexi. Hey, Stinky! Yeah, Skunk Boy, I'm talking to you! Jeffrey could only sigh and turn to Nadia. Alexi grabbed the communicator from Donovan's hand while still holding him in a death grip. There, he said. You will join him soon. For when I find you, you too will be out of the game. Not likely, Nadia said. There was a sudden flash of light and Donovan disappeared. Looks like you lose this round. But there will be many more. I have much more misery to give. And next time, I won't be as merciful. He crushed the communicator in his hands, letting the parts fall to the ground. To the floor, gagging and coughing. Want to cut it any closer next time, Nadine? He asked in a hoarse voice. Be glad I got you out of there, Squirrel Boy, Nadia said. When Sandra tried to close her, she sent a low-level shark to stop her. I'm not finished yet. I think this computer is getting too big for a casing, Sandra muttered, shaking her head. Nadia was immediately concrete. I'm sorry, Sandra, she said. I don't know what came over me. Sandra looked at Nadia for a second. We'll talk later. She closed her up and put her back in her boot. Once Donovan caught his breath, he began. So what is it that you want? He then looked at Sandra. Says, when did you start swearing? Don't say it! Sandra yelled. I'm not happy about this, and I don't want to be... Besides, we're not in sanctuary yet. This is inside, so I will shove a crystal up your nose. Point made. Donovan said, standing. He walked to the sanctuary with Sandra right behind him. As soon as he stepped through the doors, he said, "Pink." Sandra looked at him hard, her eyes glowing crystalline momentarily. "You can't stay in here forever," she said softly, brushing past him. Donovan smiled briefly, then followed her to the altar where everyone was gathered. "I know everyone here but one," he said, looking at Knuckles. Thomas walked over to the Donovan. "Permit me to introduce Knuckles the Echidna, guardian of the Chaos Emeralds." Donovan took off his shades to look at Knuckles in surprise. "You mean it is happening?" he asked, gaze shifting to Tannis. Both Tannis and Knuckles nodded gravely. "Please, everyone make yourselves comfortable, and I will explain the history of my people and of the Emeralds." "Excuse me 1 sec. I'll be right back." "I'm back. I'm sorry. But when he said he had to tell his story of his people, all I could think of was doing the meme, and I had to stop myself." Those that were already seated remained so, but those who were standing either leaned against the wall or sat on the floor. "It is hard to know where to begin," Knuckles said. "Bear with me a moment, and I'll try to cover everything." "Oh, don't worry, Knux. I'll help out with this. So, a long time ago, there was this ancient civilization, you see, that used the Chaos Emeralds for a great purpose. To bring peace to the world and to elevate themselves above so many other crises. However, and they were all guarded and protected by the Master Emerald. However, one day, a tribe of Echidnas wanted to take the power to themselves and use it for war instead of peace. This angered the Guardian of the Emeralds, Chaos, and caused them to be destroyed. But using her power to calm the being and hold it back, imprisoned Chaos within the Master Emerald. Soon, the rest faded away from memory within the Master Emerald. And, I'm sorry, wrong script. Let me, I'll be right back. I gotta get the right script here. Now, let's see. Okay, let's try this one. A long time ago, a race of people brought together the 7 Chaos Emeralds and bound them within the most powerful relic of all, the Master Emerald. People who could wield this had the ability to subjugate whole armies, turn thoughts into reality, and able to bend the will of others. However, believing that no one person should ever have all that power, a band of brave warriors came out from the shadows to stop this person and then take the Master Emerald and hide it away on Earth. And I'm sorry again. Wrong script. My apologies. Okay, let's do it with this one. At ages past, centuries before the Covenant of Tonic Shirot, a powerful creature known only as Chaos held all of Mobius in its grip. It was not known if this creature was a god, demon, or entity, but its power could not be denied. Actually, it was a giant water monster. Every creature on Mobius knew fear then, and their fear only served to strengthen their oppressor. Yeah, you and Kim just kind of fucked that up. Thank goodness for Tikal. Time and again, almost bonded together to face Chaos. But no matter how many or how skilled they were, the bodies littered the halls of Chaos's great palace. In time, all who could dare oppose it were gone, and so did hope disappear. Then one creature came, an Echidna whose name had been swallowed up by the passes of time to challenge Chaos. I'm gonna call him Dimitri, because I wanted to reference Energy Axe. Chaos laughed aggressively. Surely no one creature could get past others' defenses and let alone defeat it. But this Echidna was different. He was the Holy One and had the power of the Almighty behind him. He was able to fight through all of Chaos's defenses until he stood face to face with the evil being. The battle raged for many days, neither one giving ground nor gaining. The countryside was ravaged with the awesome powers that these two foes unleashed. Finally, summoning up all the power at his disposal, the Echidna defeated Chaos, shattering its hold on Mobius. But Chaos was more than it appeared to be. Not even the omnipotence of the Almighty could destroy the beast. Instead, the Echidna was forced to lock it away in 7 emeralds, each one holding a different aspect of Chaos's power. 5 emeralds would hold Chaos's power over the elements. Green held power over earth. Red controlled fire. White contained wind. Blue held water. And yellow trapped lightning. The other 2 emeralds, slightly larger than the rest, were very special. The purple emerald, whose size difference was so slight to all but the most in tune with their senses did not appear equal to the other 5, was graded to hold the shadow of evil that resided in the chaos. The gray emerald, by far the largest, was entrusted with its life force to keep safe. Hey, Sega, take note. I think we have a good explanation for the 5 emeralds colors. A special fortress was created to keep the emeralds safe, an island that drew on the power of the emeralds to float in mid-air. It became known as the Floating Island, or Angel Island, depending on how nitpicky you are, and was spelled with magic specifically designed to hide it all from the forms of destruction. The Echidna was given the special honor of watching over the emeralds, becoming the guardian, as all his descendants would be. A few favored by the guardian were chosen to live on the island who populated it, and so it had remained so for almost 1,000 years. A legend has been passed down through the lines of the Guardians, telling of a time when a great evil would come of an attempted good that would once more plague Mobius. During that time, the fate of the Emeralds and the entire planet would be determined. Battles would be raised according to the ancient laws. He who first found the island would choose 3 emeralds to guard himself, though he may not lay claim to them until they were defended. He could also choose those who would become his main opponents for control of the emeralds, though anyone may vie for their power. The Guardian would then scatter the other 4, hiding them carefully in remote places, accessible only to those with great skill and determination. The battles would only begin then, and continue until one side hits all 7. The Guardian would preside over all battles, remaining neutral in all. But this particular line of Holy Ones would be exempt from the covenant of the Tana Sirat because of the special job they were given. They would do whatever it took to make sure that the issue was decided within a year of the first battle. For it is written that if the emeralds were ever assembled with the life emerald at the center, a powerful force of good would be bestowed upon their owner. Okay, guys. Tell me I'm not the only one seeing in my head as Knuckles is saying all this. A shadowy image of chaos in his perfect form laying waste, and a Knuckles that looks, strangely enough, like Enerjax, fighting chaos, and then holding the emeralds. Oh, wait, better idea. An Echidna that looks like Tikal, what looks like Tikal stopping chaos, all this wire surging, and then Tikal sealing away chaos, and then the 7 emeralds gathered together and being placed around Knuckles. And then when Knuckles says, if the life emerald's at the center, a powerful force for good would be bestowed upon their owner. As soon as they say that, an image of Supersonic is there. And with the Shadow Emerald at its core, it would see Shadow. Come on, I'm not the only one who sees this, right? But if the emeralds were assembled with Shadow Emerald at the core, then whoever assembled the emeralds would gain all the Chaos' powers. But if the emeralds were fought over for more than 1 year without being assembled or returned, then Chaos would be reborn, and Mobius would return to darkness. Can I just say for a moment here that, once again, this is the type of legend I love. It's one of those prophecies written down that doesn't give you a defined winner or loser. It's one of those that gives you a possibility. It gives you a chance. It says, oh yeah, you got all this power and stuff, but it makes you wonder who's going to win. It gives you the opportunity to say, oh my goodness, what's going to happen next? That's what I love about this. Not only that, but this would make a bitchin' game! Come on, Sonic Fan Games, work with me on this! This would be awesome! Somebody come on, work with me! Make this pronto! Sega, I didn't have a new plan for Sonic Frontiers! A thought. It's the story of the Emeralds. Probably be better than Sonic Omens. Boo! The time is at hand for the race for the Emeralds to begin. If I may ask, Sally said thoughtfully, what is the great evil that has come from the intended good?
Do you really have to ask, Sally? Uncle Tuck said heavily. You must be talking about my Robotnik. Remember, I originally decided to help animals live longer.
Knuckles nodded. You are correct, Charles Hedgehog. But do not blame yourself. Some items of destiny are preordained. How could they come about so no consequence they will come about? So Sniffly found the floating island, Sonic said. Man, I thought you'd been a little too quiet lately. It was not Sniffly who found it, Knuckles said slowly. No, it was an enemy long thought dead, but who never was. Fear and apprehension spread across everyone's face as an understanding took hold. You can't possibly mean, Sally began, but could not finish. Knuckles nodded again. Dr. Robotnik has returned, and is once more in control of Robotropolis. Sally almost seemed about to faint. Sonic had to hurry to catch her. Everyone started talking at once. Everyone but two. Both Thomas and Donovan had their heads bowed and eyes closed. They, more than everyone else, knew the full impact of this news. Antoine was the first to notice the change in their demeanors.
What is the matter with you two? He asked.
We are all upset about this, but you seem more saddened than upset. All the sanctuary grew quiet and turned to look at him. Thomas spoke first.
With Sniffly out of power, I am once more bound by the covenant of Tonic Surat, he said in a choked voice. By that covenant, I must move Sanctuary back to its former location. I can no longer...
Rosie looked stricken at this, and Sally paled further. Sandra's eyes widened suddenly, and she looked at Donovan in fear. Oh no, she thought. Donovan read the look on Sandra's face perfectly. Oh yes, he said slowly. With Sniffly out of power, the roboticization gun and the AI SWAT bots will no longer have any effect. I must return to maintaining the balance, as was before Sniffly came to power. But Butnick still has his technology, Sonic protested. Count! Not in the case of this race, Donovan said with some thought. The only thing that could possibly affect this balance now is the ownership of the emeralds. Though Robotnik has 3 emeralds, he technically does not own them. And even so, Knuckles said, Sniffly destroyed all of his technology before Robotnik could stop them. That is, except for the one called Metasonic. And about that, neither of the 2 main sides can attack the other for the sole purpose of attacking, or awakening until the ownership of each emerald is decided. Then what of our food? Patricia asked. A great deal of our supply comes from raids on Robotropolis. Remember, I'm eating for 2 here! Knuckles smiled. I will always be available if you have unrelated needs or questions. As such, I will provide you with the fruits and other foodstuffs found on my floating island. All you need to do is ask Thomas to contact me. That he could do without violating the covenant. And he could teleport. And considering that this is awesome, Nux! And what are the emeralds he has? Tails asked. How can we get them if we cannot attack them? You cannot attack for the purpose of attacking or weakening him. Remember, he cannot lay claim to the emeralds until he has defended them. You will not be weakening him by getting something in his domain which he does not control. Then I must truly go, Donovan said. I will inform Robotnik about the new state of things. Oh, don't try to contact me on the old frequency. I'm building a new communicator on a different frequency. One that both you and Robotnik will have to find in order to contact me. And even then, I'll only help if the balance of power is not in your favor. He walked to the doors, but stopped inside. By the way, Sandra, please apologize to Nadia for me. I had no right to snap at her after she had just saved my life. Then, without so much as a goodbye, he activated his boots and took off. This is too much, too fast, Sally whispered. I need some time. You shall have it, Knuckles said. I shall hide the remaining 4 emeralds within the span of 1 month. I will come to Knothole to let you know when the race is. Until then, I take my leave. Wait, Sandra said, just as Knuckles prepared to go. Can you tell us what emeralds Robotnik is chosen to defend? Knuckles considered that briefly. That much you have a right to know. Robotnik is defending the lightning, wind, and life emeralds, if there's nothing else. Knuckles waved his hands and disappeared in a flash of light. Everyone just looked at each other, their spirits dampened. All of a sudden, I'm not in much of a mood to get married. Sonic said, Oh, come on, Sugar Hug. Bunny said, well, yes, this is a big problem, but I don't see no reason to put all our lives on hold for this. I'm kind of with Bunny on this. Don't you see, Bunny? Sally said weakly. This is the only reason why we should. We have less than a month to prepare for who knows what. We can't put our desires ahead of Mobius. Especially me as the princess.
She is right, King Acorn said. All must remain with Thomas until the evil within me is gone. She must lead you to the emeralds.
But what about us? Bunny pleaded to Antoine. We don't have to.
Listen to yourself, Bunny.
But Antoine said,
I know it's important to you that you get married. Just as it's important to me. But what the future will we give our children if we allow Robotnik to win? The emeralds would be the only things on our minds.
Yeah, but you could still get married and still focus on the emeralds. I'm with Bunny here. There is absolutely no reason for why Bunny and Antoine shouldn't be getting married right about now. Look at it this way. If Knuckles had come in 1 hour later, or even a day later, Bunny and Antoine, Sonic and Sally would have been married already. And they would have already been focusing on their married lives. Because they would still be in a war scenario. They would still be in trouble. They would still be running with the risk that Sniffly could roboticize them at any given moment. They would still be in trouble. The only difference right now is that you've exchanged, oh shit, we could be roboticized, to, oh shit, we've got only a year to handle this. Now would be a perfect time to get married, because now's a really good time to, live life to the fullest, because everything might be dead soon. And if Knuckles had came in a few days later, they would still be married. Bunny and Sally and Sonic, I could see putting it off because Sally's the princess. She would be focusing more on the big mission. She would be focusing on the big details, trying to stop her. Her mind would be too focused on it all. And I know they're trying to say, well, Bunny and Antoine would be too focused on trying to get the emeralds and stopping Robotnik and all that. But that's still my point. Even when they get married, they would still have been focusing on stopping Sniffling. Now the only attention is on Robotnik. There's really no reason to put their lives on hold for this. And what were they going to do after they got married if Knuckles didn't do it? If Knuckles didn't come in? If they had their wedding day 1 day earlier? I feel like this is really pointless drama, and I'm thinking about how the Archie comics still had Bunny and Antoine get married even though there were still problems. The embers must be the only thing on our minds. Again, there would have been other things. Like, what? Definitely wasn't going to be on your minds? I don't know, Bunny whispered on brokenly. Let's just let I waited so long for this, and I have it all snatched away. I am not going anywhere, Antoine said, hugging her. If you don't reach for me, I will reach for you. And again, they're not being separated by war here. They're still living in the same town. They're still living in the same area. They're still dating. They're still going to be going on romance. What? It's going to be different. Other than there's a piece of paper that says, yeah, you two are only going wed. It's like saying, yeah, you gotta put your lives on hold.
hold for this until we get this building fixed.
I'm still living in the next town with my girlfriend! This really doesn't feel like it's that much of a problem.
Bunny could say nothing more, but sobbed quietly into Antoine's shoulder. I think it's best we return to Knothole, Sonic said. He picked Sally up in his arms and solemnly watched from Sanctuary. Antoine picked Bunny up and followed. And Bunny had to pick Antoine up, as did the rest of the who were going. The only ones who stayed behind were Tannis, with King Acorn, Nagas, and Rosie.
I think we should retire to our rooms,
Nagas said to the king.
I believe these two have something they wish to discuss.
Yes. The king agreed. We'll wait your summons. He bowed and both he and Nagas headed back. Rosie, Tannis began.
No, don't say anything. Rosie said, I know this is not your choice.
You could stay here with me. Rosie shook her head.
My first duty is to Sally and the others. This is yours is the Covenant, and hers is to the planet. Now more than ever, they need someone there to comfort and talk with them.
Tannis nodded.
I understand. You'll always be welcome here.
Rosie smiled. She walked up and kissed him on the cheek.
I'll be around,
she said quickly, left tears in her eyes. Tannis then called upon his master to transport Sanctuary back to its original location. When the magical whirlwind ended, all that was left was a single tear, and that was quickly swallowed up by the ground.
Personally, if I wanted to do this, if I were their beta, I would suggest letting Bunny and Antoine get married, because those two have more of a reason to actually get married, while Sonic and Sally have more of a reason to not get married. I would have let them get hitched, personally. Or even have Tannis say, I gotta leave. Or better yet, make this happen the day before they got married. The day before they were wed. This way, you could say that they can't get plans, they can't get everything set up. And this way, you could actually have things have an important prize at the end. Because the way it's written right now, I'm not seeing the problem. Robotropolis stiffly sat patiently in his cell, while Metasonic paced outside. Would you please stop pacing, Stiffly said. It's really beginning to annoy me.
I can't help it, Metasonic said. I got a lot to think about.
Like what?
Yes, like what? Dorian asked, walking out of the shadows. Metasonic looked down. Just what I've been waiting for. He threw something at the security camera and knocked it out of commission. I just hope he wasn't watching, Metasonic said, opening the door. What are you doing? Dorian and Simile demanded together. Letting you go. I couldn't figure out a way to let you go before, but now I can tell Robotnik that you took me from behind and freed him. Sniffly ran out of the cell.
It seems I made you well, Sniffly said.
He and Dorian took one of the many secret passages out of Robotropolis. As Metasonic slammed himself into the wall a few times, then reported to Robotnik. The next morning, Sally roused herself from a deep, dreamless slumber that had been caused by 3 hours of nonstop crying. She threw on her vest and boots as Sonic walked in. How'd you sleep? He asked. From the looks of it, as well as you, Sally answered. Sonic rubbed his eyes and looked around. Hey, what's that doing up there for? Sonic asked, pointing to Sally's wedding dress, which was hung above her head. I put it there as a reminder that my life is on hold.
Again? This really didn't need to happen!
Until we know the fate of Mobius, I'm not free to do anything I want to. Now more than ever, everyone will be looking at us to lead them. You could still lead them. All you would have is a piece of paper that says you are married! I know, Sonic said. He sat down on her bed and sat on her lap. They just sat there, hugging, crying, finding comfort in there when they knew that there was little to offer.
So, you're still romantically involved. You're still dating. You still have minds on each other. You're still focused on your love life. And yet, you can't get married. You realize that you're practically being married right now? Like, you two are acting like a good married couple right now. Right? Oh, I swear, this better not have me having to point out a problem of a certain scene about about sex before marriage in a few minutes. Sandra watched them from her bed, eyes half closed. Her heart went out to them, as it did everyone, but she knew there was nothing she could do until the race began, and so she waited, as did all of Knothole, for the time when Knuckles would come to them and tell them it was time to begin. The race for the emeralds! Ooh, I can't wait.